Okay, good morning, Shavua Tov. Thanks, Rabbi Lawrence. Thank you, Martin. Obviously, just before we had today's Dvar Halacha, we're all, I think, stunned and shocked by the passing of Rabbi Sachs. Halafa Shalom. And the world is a different place, a lesser place this morning. It's like a light has gone out. Anyway, we should learn, because that's, I'm sure, also what he'd want us to do, as well as it being our mitzvah. So we started last week looking at the Teshuvah, the response of R Asher Weiss about matters relating to the obligations of Tefillah and Tzibor, communal prayer, and to what extent one needs to have communal prayer, and what other options, such as praying together by Zoom, so to speak, or even praying physically with other people, there being less than the minyan. What are the values? And we noticed how the Shulchan Aruch phrases its language as saying Yishtadel that a person should strive to daven with the community. He doesn't say you absolutely have to. And we noted this could be because of other competing mitzvot which one needs to do perhaps at the same time as praying with the community. One should strive to. It seems, says Rabbi Weiss, that the Shulchan Aruch's psak, his decision, is based on a very interesting dispute in understanding the Talmud in Masechet Brachot, in the volume of Brachot, chapter 8, page A. So page 8, folio A, Amud Chet Amud Aleph. And there the Talmud notes that there were two great sages amongst the Amoraim, the later Mishnaics, Talmudic sages, in Tiberias, Rav Ami and Rav Asi. And even though there were many shuls in Tiberia, they would nonetheless daven in the place where they learned. They would be studying and teaching Torah much of the day, and that's where they would study, in the place they learned. And amongst the Rishonim, the great medieval scholars who did so much to conceptualize and understand what not just the laws of the Talmud were, but also what the underlying principles were to help apply those laws in every generation. There is a dispute as to how to best understand this passage. These Rishonim are great rowers of Jewish history, Rashi, Rambam, etc., and others. So on the one hand, there is the students of Rabbeinu Yonah and the Tosfot, very well-known commentaries on that volume of the Talmud. And this is particularly amongst the French school of rabbis at that time, the medieval rabbis, who said that they understood that Rav Ami and Rav Asi would daven by themselves in the Beit HaMidrash, and that was even better given their context than going to a shul and davening together with the rest of the tzibur. In other words, there wasn't an obligation for them to leave their place of study and what they were doing to go to a shul to daven. Which has tremendous ramifications, thinking about not just our situation now, but at other times as well. In the other corner, the red corner and the blue corner perhaps, there's the view of the Rambam. Maimonides, one of our, of course, our titanic figures, great figures of Jewish scholarship, who says in chapter 8 of his Laws of Prayer that a Beit Midrash is actually in some way greater than a shul, perhaps because of the study which takes place in a Beit Midrash traditionally, whereas in a shul traditionally it was just prayer. Of course, today that's not necessarily the case, but traditionally it was. And he notes that the great scholars, even though there were in their cities, such as the ones we just explained, many shuls, they would instead daven in the place where they were involved with the Torah. But the Rambam seems to add adds what appears to be a rider. There should nonetheless be Tefillah b'tzibor, as if to say that in the Beit Midrash there's the Tefillah b'tzibor rather than in the shul. So Rabbi Asher Weiss, in his book again, Minchat Asher, we're studying from, notes that it seems to be better to daven in a place where there is a tzibor rather than davening by oneself. That's the view of the Rambam. But on the other hand, the view of the Tosfot and Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah is that no, it's better to be davening in the Beit HaMidrash, even if you are davening alone. And the Shulchan Aruch holds like the Rambam. The Ramah, the Ashkenazi, Rabbi Moshe Isserlis's notes on the Shulchan Aruch holds like the Tosfot. So we already see in terms of our context, particularly if a person at home has an area which is, let's say, the area for davening or the area for study, that's where they might sit down and learn, then perhaps according to the view of the Tosfot and therefore the Ramah, that's the best place to daven. Maybe on the other hand, according to the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, it's better to be in the shul. And the question remains whether it's better to be in the shul with or without a minyan, and whether there is any difference between them. And of course, Rabbi Weiss will continue to look at this and the various elements, the pros and cons of both sides of this dispute in the rest of the essays we shall discover. So it's not by any means a settled black or white question. There are positives and negatives to both, and we'll particularly see how he applies it to our current situation. So in the meantime, thank you that we can all davven together as ever, even if it's just by Zoom. And please God, it should be a soothing as much as possible, but whatever it can is a week ahead for Am Yisrael and for the world. Take care.
Amen.
Aye.
Amen.